他说要借我老公结个婚，就是让我跟我老公离婚，他跟我老公去领个结婚证，等事情办完之后再把老公还给我。
This is the story of Tian Xiaoxia, a woman from Shanxi who has recently been living a real nightmare. A few months ago, her longtime best friend, Jiang Ting, made her an absurd proposal. She wanted to borrow her husband for a fake marriage and, in return, promised to pay 100,000 yuan once everything was sorted out. Tempted by the financial offer, Xiaoxia eventually gave in and divorced her husband, Xing Dawei, believing it would be only temporary. But what seemed like a quick and harmless plan turned into a devastating betrayal. It all started with a compensation for a demolition project. In 2017, Jiang Ting called Xiaoxia asking for help, with one specific request. She had to bring her husband along. Although she found it odd, Xiaoxia agreed. After all, they had been friends for over a decade, and Dawei was also a college classmate. At the meeting, Jiang explained that her old house was about to be demolished, and she would receive compensation from the government. However, the compensation was calculated per registered resident. Jiang was an only child, and her parents had already passed away, which meant she would receive much less than most families. To solve that, Jiang wanted to fake a marriage with someone to increase the number of registered people in the household and get more money. But it couldn't be just anyone. She was afraid a stranger might take advantage of her. That's when she thought of Dawei. She made the proposal. Xiaoxia would temporarily divorce Dawei, he would marry Jiang, they'd collect the demolition money, and everything would go back to normal. At first, Xiaoxia found the idea completely ridiculous. Money and objects were one thing, but lending out your own husband? That was too much. Even after Jiang insisted and offered the 100,000 yuan as compensation, Xiaoxia still refused until something unexpected happened. Her own husband agreed to the plan. He said it would only last a couple of months, nothing would change, and they'd be helping a friend in need. With 100,000 yuan on the table and no apparent downside, where was the harm? With that reasoning, Xiaoxia signed the divorce papers. To protect herself, she made sure that all the couple's assets and property were assigned to her, which Dawei accepted without objection. Soon after, Jiang and Dawei registered their marriage only on paper, of course. They kept a respectful distance from each other, which reassured Xiaoxia so much that she even apologized to Jiang for having doubted her. 5 months later, Jiang received the demolition payout and transferred the promised 100,000 yuan to Xiaoxia. But to avoid suspicion from the government about the fake marriage, Jiang asked that the divorce be delayed by 2 more months. Xiaoxia agreed. The problem was that when the time came, Jiang and Dawei started stalling, first with excuses, then by disappearing altogether. Worried, Xiaoxia went to their house and got a shock. Jiang was 3 months pregnant. Before she could even ask anything, Jiang broke down in tears and claimed the pregnancy was the result of a drunken one-night stand with a stranger at a bar. She said she loved children, planned to raise the baby alone, and asked Xiaoxia to wait a few more months so she could register the child legally before the divorce. But Xiaoxia refused. The deal was clear. Once the money was received, the fake marriage would end. The pregnancy was Jiang's problem, not hers. Still, Jiang insisted, even offering more money as compensation. Dawei also tried to convince Xiaoxia to wait a bit longer. After all, under Chinese law, a man cannot file for divorce if his wife is pregnant or breastfeeding. Under pressure, Xiaoxia gave in once again. 6 months later, Jiang gave birth to a baby boy. When Xiaoxia visited, she made an innocent comment. He's as beautiful as his mother. But Jiang's response was chilling. I think he looks more like his father. And then she gave Dawei a long, pointed look. Dawei lowered his head and avoided eye contact. The atmosphere turned heavy. Sensing something was wrong, Xiaoxia pretended to go to the bathroom, only to return 2 minutes later. She walked in on a heated argument. Jiang was shouting that the child was indeed Dawei's, and now that they were legally married, he should take responsibility. Dawei insisted it was a mistake, and that he had never intended to leave Xiaoxia. Faced with the truth, Dawei fell to his knees, claiming he had been tricked. But Jiang confessed everything. The plan had been a setup from the start. Back in college, Jiang had a crush on Dawei but never had the courage to confess. When he started dating Xiaoxia, she felt betrayed. She thought it was just a short-lived college romance, But the couple got married right after graduation. Zhang lost her chance until the demolition money came into the picture. She invented the fake marriage idea and used the money as bait. Once Dawei agreed to the divorce, she created opportunities to be alone with him, even inviting him to move in with her, claiming it would help maintain the facade. Eventually, Dawei gave in to temptation. She told me she just wanted a child, that I wouldn't need to be involved, and she threatened to tell my wife if I refused. But the pregnancy was only her first move. Zhang had never intended to divorce him. Once the baby was born, she knew Xiaoxia would never forgive the betrayal and Dawei would have nowhere else to go. Furious at the double betrayal, Xiaoxia said, "You got what you wanted, Dawei. It's over. I deeply regret agreeing to this fake marriage. I'm divorcing you even if I have to take it to court." But the divorce wouldn't be that easy. Zhang knew that as long as she was breastfeeding, Dawei couldn't legally initiate a divorce. She assumed that with time, he would settle down with her for the baby's sake. But her plan backfired. Determined to break free, Dawei agreed to pay 500,000 yuan in child support, even though he had given all his assets to Xiaoxia during the first divorce. He had to borrow the money from friends and relatives. Moved by his decision, Zhang finally gave up and returned the money, asking only that he visit the child from time to time. After everything, Dawei rushed to reconcile with Xiaoxia, but she was firm. "I made a mistake agreeing to this from the start, but I can't get over it. Even if we got back together, it would never be the same." And so, a simple demolition payout ended up destroying the lives of 3 people. What started as a husband-for-hire deal ended with the end of a marriage, an unwanted child, and a friendship shattered forever. In the end, the most naive person in this whole story was the one who trusted the most. Tian Xiaoxia thought she could treat marriage like a rental contract, sign it, get the money, and return it later. But even a fake marriage comes with a price, and sometimes it costs more than you'd expect. As for the husband, who traded his wedding ring for some quick cash, he learned the hard way that betraying your wife and getting involved with her best friend doesn't just destroy a marriage, it destroys your dignity too. He sold everything for almost nothing and still ended up in debt. And that so-called best friend, who orchestrated the whole thing out of spite and greed, ended up with a baby in her arms, an ex-husband begging to go back to his ex-wife, and zero respect. In the end, she did get what she wanted, just not quite the way she imagined. This story isn't just about betrayal. It's about how far some people are willing to go for money, for revenge, or both. And maybe the biggest lesson here is, be careful with those who say they love you. Sometimes, the real stab comes wrapped in a hug. But now I want to hear from you. What's your take on this story? Would you have agreed to that loan? Do you think any of the 3 made it out clean? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel for more stories like this, and I'll see you in the next one.